Okay, here we go again, huh? Another episode of the Safe Space.
Yeah, so I think we're gonna start off with a someone commented on one of our last episodes. Great question by Super Duty OHV 304.
Ford guy.
Yeah, sounds like a Ford driver if I've ever heard one. I think I might let you answer this.
Well, I will.
No, tell us about people or businesses who have gone to the TXTL 60X6 level and why.
Oh yeah. So first off, for the viewers, a TXTL or Super Diamond from ISM is considered the world's highest security safe. The Super Platinum is the highest UL listed safe, but the TXTL is basically an explosive rated, a bomb-proof safe. So similar to the Super Platinum, the reason why people or businesses would jump up to that is because they are protecting extensive, irreplaceable value, right? And I think the last customer who purchased one had purchased a Super Platinum, a TRTL 60x6, and for the money, it's not a huge jump up.
Yeah, it's not.
So if you have significant value, I'm talking millions of dollars, or sentimental value. Some people have other things that are worth a lot. Or, you have a business and you're trying to get, in this case, you can't get an insurance rating with a TXTL because it's not UL listed, but depends on your insurance company.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we've had people in the past or insurance companies and customers in the past that, we've made a custom plate still safe for and got approval from their insurance company that this will cover it. As far as like what businesses own the TXTL 60X6s, for the most part, it's not businesses. If you were a business that needed something like a Super Platinum and we couldn't get it fast enough, you might go to a TXTL. But the majority of people buying a TXTL are just residential that want the best security in the world, and the largest customer for TXTLs is the U.S. government.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for the past, really most of the purchases that they made with TXTL happened after September 11th, 2001. So I think the U.S. government bought close to 100 of them just in that short time period. So yeah, Pentagon, nuclear destroyers, like if you want the best safe in the world, that's what you're going to go with.
And we have one in stock, which there's not too many places in the country you can go and actually look at a TXTL Super Diamond from ISM on the floor and grab that freaking door and feel how heavy that thing is, and just the bolt work encased in that who knows what, right? Alloy of sort. But yeah, it's just reinforced.
It has every single option, every single reinforcement that you'd want to see in a safe.
The mechanism is impressive. A ton of glass inside of that mechanism. So that's an awesome question from an awesome Ford owner.
Yeah,
Bill Ford tough, baby. Just like the TXTL. That's funny. That's a good way to start things off. Okay, on to the next. Dial lock or electronic? How should someone choose? Probably the most widely asked question here on a daily basis.
I feel like we've had to go over this, or maybe we just one of our tangents when
we might have skimmed it.
Yeah, but
this is when you talk about answering your questions, the customer's questions. I mean, this is a top, if not the top one, it's definitely in the top three.
Yeah,
dial or electronic. How should somebody choose?
Yeah, well, what we tell people, what we try to find out first is what setting are you going to be using it in? And oftentimes what we experience in a residential setting, the most typical situation is you have a husband that's getting into the safe every week, and you have their wife that might be getting in the safe every
couple months
or just a few times a year.
Yeah.
So, if you're using a dial lock consistently, it's pretty easy and straightforward. But if you're not, a lot of people struggle with it. So in scenarios like that, we recommend going with an electronic.
UL listed.
Yeah, UL listed electronic lock. In a business, for the most part, you're almost exclusively seeing electronic locks.
Yeah.
Just because of all the options that they have, whether it's time delays, lockout features, multiple users,
audit.
It gives you a ton more flexibility. And then, I mean, who are we steering towards a dial lock? I would say people that are just concerned with everything from an EMP attack, solar flare, or you just want the most reliable thing. Most of us at Northwest Safe have mechanical locks on our safes, but we use dial locks almost every day. We're very familiar with them, and if that's going to be you, if you're going to use it consistently enough, I mean, I never try to talk somebody out of a dial lock.
Yeah.
Sometimes
unless they show signs that it may hamper the use of the lock. For years we have a dial lock on a little display stand, and we let somebody operate it. And usually you can tell right away, right, if somebody can operate it or not.
Yeah, there's some people that have vision issues or can't keep a steady hand and
trembling.
That's not going to be a good fit, a dial lock.
Yeah, I think you said it right off the bat. It depends on the use case. It depends on the application. We try to get an understanding of who's using the safe and in what setting, and then we try to recommend the right safe or the right lock for that particular application.
If you could only recommend one thing for new buyers to remember, what would it be?
So, probably in our industry, the first answer would probably be make sure you buy big enough, right? That's usually what you hear from people industry wide. But more important to me than that is to add up the value that you're putting inside your safe, whether that's monetary or sentimental, and really think about what could be inside your safe in 10 or 15 years, plan for future investments, and buy the right level of security and fire protection for that value, just like a business would do if they were trying to get insurance for a value set of $250K, $500,000, million, whatever that may be. In the residential world, for some reason, people do not connect what they're putting in the safe to the quality or the security or fire protection level that should match that. And so, yeah, if I could just get every customer to understand and think about it in that way critically, I think more people, it's not so we can sell better safes. It's so people buy the right safe for their needs. So that would be the thing that I would want people to understand and remember.
Yeah, that's basically what I was going to say. The same thing. I think I was just wording it a little bit differently as like, it's your last line of defense.
Yeah.
So, we all have layers of security, whether it's alarms, watchful neighbors, gates,
dogs.
Yeah. And those are all great things to have. But really, the last thing that you can rely on is what safe you choose to put there. That's what's going to be there no matter what.
Yep.
And in people's defense, the industry does a really bad job at presenting what a good safe is.
Yeah.
For the most part, like, let's say you walk into an Albert Lee, which is, for those that don't know, a local appliance store.
Yeah.
They carry really high-end appliances, and they carry something entry-level, economic, affordable. And for the most part, when you look at safes, whether you're at Costco or Home Depot, like, they're carrying the cheapest thing out there. Part of the reason is just the capability to move it. They don't want their employees moving a 2,000 or 3,000 pound safe, or even 1,000 pound safe for the most part. But yeah, so what consumers are exposed to is generally a pretty low bar.
And they don't have the staff on hand at those stores to educate someone on why they should get a better safe. So they're trying to simplify it and just go, here, this seems to meet most people's budget around $1,000. Let's try to just do volume with this one safe. We don't care if they're putting $1 million inside of it. Mm-hmm. We just want to sell this safe, versus the way that a local specialty safe company is going to steer you is we're going to try to get an idea of how you're using the safe, what you're trying to protect. And we're going to advise you on what safe makes sense for that.
Yeah. Something else for people to remember is, like, whenever we see a safe go through a serious fire, break-in, whatever, nobody replaces that safe with the same safe. They're always going a step or two above once they see the performance. Because, even on a decent safe, like, it's not perfect.
No.
You go through a serious fire, it'll keep contents from being absolutely destroyed. But in some cases, there's going to be damage.
There is damage, yeah. And that's a question I've posed to customers over the years. If I were to tell you you are going to have a fire tomorrow in your home, what safe would you buy? Mm-hmm. And when you think about it that way, of course, the person goes, well, I would buy the highest fire rated safe to give myself the best chance. Well, why not buy that safe now? Because people think that they're never going to have a house fire when obviously it does happen.
Yeah.
Or if they knew someone was going to break into their house tomorrow with this set of tools, what safe would you buy? Well, you would buy a higher security safe. So just trying to get people to understand that. We could talk about that all day long. If you were buying a safe today, what would your good, better, and best picks be and why? That's a good one.
This is kind of a question like, well, we can go several routes. We can go let's set some
parameters.
Limits. Yeah, like light enough to still put on a wood subfloor.
I would say let's take what we just told our customers and the listeners here, for your value set, right? For what you have, because you're not going to start at an entry level safe, right? You're going to start probably a little bit higher, a good, better, best pick. So no, I would say use your real application as the parameters here, and I'll do the same.
Yeah. So I guess it would start at, at least a 3/16 bodied safe, which is traditional, like old school. Yeah. National Magnum right there.
Yeah.
So it would go BFX by American Security. And then after that, I think that's my default, but really I think I'd go Titan because of the AR500, harder to cut.
Yeah.
So those are better. But then in my shop, I'm going TL30X6.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously you and I have similar opinions on this. And lately, I've been telling everybody if I could purchase a safe right now and put it in my garage or my home based on what I have and the features that I'm looking for, a Fort Knox Titan is the safe that I'm purchasing. Now, if I don't have a budget, then from there, the Fort Knox Legend with the stainless steel and the mechanism and just the cool factor from that safe.
Yeah.
I look at other things besides just the security. I look at, okay, what colors can I get it in? What kind of cool aesthetics? And with Fort Knox, you can just customize it any which way you'd like. So, we both own National Magnums. I have a National Magnum in my garage right now, which again, like you said, a 3/16. Starting with that, a lot of guys in our business have gone to the BFX. I think the BFX is a great safe. But I'm going to go with the Titan, the Legend. And then hopefully one day I can justify purchasing a TL rated safe. I'm not there yet in my value set. It wouldn't make a ton of sense for me to buy a TL rated safe, but hopefully in the next, 5 to 10 years, I've got enough value that would justify that.
What's the first thing a customer should think about before they even step into the showroom?
Oh, where are you going to put your safe? And having multiple places, right? I think that is probably one of the biggest issues when people come in here is they have one spot in mind, right? Instead of having multiple. So before you come in here, before they buy a safe, let's think about, okay, what makes sense for the location and not for quick access home protection, right? We always talk about that. This is for, the pros and cons of having it in an office or in a master closet or in the garage. But just like what lock is appropriate for, a certain, setting. Well, what's the safe being used for? And where is it going to be in your day-to-day flow where it's not a pain in the butt to get into and it works for both parties if there is a spouse involved. So yeah, I would say have 2 to 3 locations, possible locations, before you come into the store. Come in with measurements, measure before you show up, so then you don't have to waste a trip.
Yeah, I would say proper inventory, and like you've talked about before in the past, and just kind of skimmed over. There is, part of that is including your spouse, your wife.
Yeah.
So proper inventory, take in consideration what you're going to want to lock up, secure, what you're going to buy in the future, and what they want to lock up and secure and buy in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think all of those things, come into play. And I know sometimes we repeat ourselves, which we do a lot in our space. It's just like trying to just hammer home the foundational principles of making a smart investment, right? From location to the right level of security to fire protection, involving the right people, all those things. So yeah, go ahead, Ben. You got the next one.
Next two. If someone moves, what should they know about relocating their safe?
Yeah, the first thing is, we help people move safes across the country, across the state, to nearby states, and even just across town, right? So I would say, the first thing you should do is, fill out our move form and see if it makes sense to move the safe. In some cases, it doesn't. If it's an entry-level safe and you're moving across the country, it does not make sense to spend $1,000 or more to ship it, where you could buy a new one where you're going. Mm-hmm. Versus if you've got a high-end safe, I would say anything in, probably, above $3,000 to $5,000 or more, depending on where you're going. There's some variables in there. It probably makes sense to move your safe, and we can come out and put it on a pallet and, package it up really well and ship it to a local dealer, right? And then they can provide that customer service and in-home installation that we do. So yeah, before you move, first off, value your safe. Do you need another safe? Maybe you need a bigger safe. That's a great time to maybe trade it in, which we also do trade-ins. So yeah, I would say put a value on your safe, get a quote, and then go ahead and weigh out the pros and cons of moving it.
Yeah, and if someone does need a new safe, they might think that they could just leave their safe behind.
Yeah.
But you would be shocked how many buyers just want it out of there.
Yeah.
We just removed a vault door from a home because the buyers didn't want it. And that
it's wild.
Just seemed crazy to me that they wouldn't want to utilize it. But yeah, we've been literally paid by new homeowners to pick up safes that are just in basements because they don't want it.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't have anything to lock up. Like,
everybody's got some type of paperwork that should be locked up, not to mention some jewelry or electronics, even just a laptop. So yeah, it is. It's crazy, but what do you do? So yeah, if you need a bigger safe, and you're moving, that might be a good time to consider upgrading. Okay. What's the biggest mistake people make when choosing a safe? Yeah, we're hitting the bread and butter here of our industry, which is great.
The number one mistake, expressed mistake, like the one they talk about the most, is size.
Buying too small.
Buying too small. I think realistically, people don't buy enough safe most of the time.
Yeah, they buy the wrong safe for their value set.
They like to protect. But yeah, size is the biggest one. Safes, just by how they present themselves, are not realistic numbers as far gun storage. Yeah. So anytime you look at, anybody looking at a gun safe that says it holds 30 guns, 20 guns, whatever the number is, if you dedicate the whole safe to long guns, take that number, cut it in half.
Yeah. Or
that's going to be realistic storage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or if you're going to use half of it for shelves, half of it for guns, take that number that you just cut in half again.
Yeah.
And that's going to be your realistic storage. So the thing that throws people off is they buy this 24 gun or 30 gun safe, right? They buy the 24 gun safe, and by the time they get it home, set it up, they can only fit 6 guns in there if they're lucky.
Yeah. I would say if you want to encompass all those things that we just talked about and that we always talk about, is just the biggest mistake people make when they go to buy a safe is they don't do the research. They don't educate themselves on the differences, and they make an impulsive purchase, right? Versus really gathering all the hopefully educational information that we put out there, diving in a little bit and making sure that they're understanding how to make that decision, whether it's the right size, whether it's the right level of security, fire protection, where to put it, all those things. Just educate yourselves before you make that investment, right?
Yeah, to kind of sympathize with the manufacturers, I don't know how they should explain it, because in reality, if you have a gun rack or a given space that has a rack that has, 12 cutouts in it versus 6, right? Having those more cutouts gives you, it makes that rack more usable, because it gives you more flexibility on where you can put a certain gun and move things around and kind of piece and puzzle everything together.
Absolutely.
So I don't think, it's just, I kind of think it is about
marketing.
Yeah, there's a huge part of it, because you take, traditional brands that have their gun rack style, and a box store would come in and be like, okay, we want to buy X amount of these safes, but we want this many cutouts in it. So they can advertise a high gun count at a lower price point. But yeah, it's kind of a marketing.
We have the same safe in here.
Yeah.
With 12 to 18 less.
People see that big gun count number and they think they're getting a big safe, and they're not. They're getting the same smaller safe with a whole bunch of cutouts on the rack.
Yeah.
So it's a mix of both.
More
cutouts give you more flexibility, but it's also a marketing thing to where
just a misunderstood industry, I tell you.
Yeah. When should someone consider upgrading to a higher end safe?
Yeah, when your collection of firearms, the value of those, and the things that are on them, such as optics, you start adding up the value of your firearms, optics, not to mention other things, right? So if you're storing cash, precious metals, collectibles of any sort, just value of any sort, once you start to reach certain thresholds, and we have recommendations on, hey, 10K and less, you're good in an entry level product, right? Once you get to that 20 to 30K range, you should be bare minimum middle of the road. Once you hit that 50 to 75K range, bare minimum 316 high end safe. And then once you go above 75K, really, you should be in a bare minimum, a Fort Knox Titan with AR 500. And then you should start looking at TL rated safes. So again, we're just going to keep talking about put a monetary and sentimental value on your stuff. Once you start creeping up, then you need to start considering, okay, is this the right, we try to come up with these analogies, right? And get in these comparisons where people can understand what we're talking about in the real world. It'd be like if you had 2 kids and you had a 2-bedroom house or a 3-bedroom house, and then you had a couple more kids. Guess what? It's time for you to buy a bigger house.
Yeah.
Or you do a great job of using vehicles. You're not gonna go out and buy a Ford Ranger if you're looking to haul a huge toy trailer, right? You're gonna buy a Super Duty. Back to that Ford Tough Super Duty comment, just circling back there. So once you hit a certain level, buy the appropriate safe for that level.
Yeah, safes are like, trucks. I think I really like that analogy because, and I'm using a generalization here, like a Ford Ranger or a Ford F-150, like the build quality of them is going to be very similar as, a 250 or a 350 or a 450. It's just they're made of different things. They have different capabilities. And safes are the same way. Like you can buy a quality safe that it's well built for $1,000.
Yeah.
It's just not thick. It doesn't have a lot of fire protection. It's not going to provide a lot of cutting protection.
It's lighter weight mechanism. And the lock's going to be lower end. Yeah.
And I think, for most people, there's this natural opportunity to go to a higher end safe by just, you're going to outgrow the first safe you buy.
Absolutely.
Almost every day, but he does. And I don't necessarily always think it's a bad thing. We try to sell people the right size for their needs. But like with me, first safe I bought, I outgrew it. I still kept it. It's in my living room.
Yeah.
I like having a safe there, but then I have a big safe in the shop.
Yep.
That's Absolutely. A higher rating.
There you go. Okie dokie. I think this is the last one here. What does a professional delivery from us actually include, and how do we price it out? That's a great question. What does a professional delivery from us actually include, and how do we price it out?
Yeah,
Coming from the original OG delivery guy here.
Most people get confused by the term delivery, or, we try to always use in-home delivery or in-home installation.
Yeah.
Because delivery by our industry standards means that you're going to buy a safe and they're going to drop it where your curb meets the road. So if you have a 200-foot long driveway, it's not going to your concrete pad. It's going to where the curb, the end of your driveway meets the road. Now, with us and, most local dealers, we specialize regionally. We're delivering and installing most of the safes that we sell. So when you buy a in-home delivery from us, we're going to put the safe in the place where you want it. And that can be ground floor, it can be upstairs, downstairs. Once it's in the place, we level it for proper door swing, remove all the packaging materials. If you want to anchor to the wood floor, concrete floor, we can do that. And then go over the operation of the lock with you, show you the operation of the safe, answer any of your questions. You can hold our guys hostage and not let them leave until, all of your questions are answered and satisfied.
Our guys help set up the interiors.
Yeah.
They wipe the safe down. I mean, yeah, I've never loved the term white glove, but for whatever reason, that's what the world states that as, right? Is a white glove.
Yeah, and their idea of white glove is different than ours.
And we're not wearing any white gloves.
No.
But our guys are going to provide the most comprehensive in-home delivery installation. And like we always talk about, set it up, right? We're going to set your safe up for you. You're not going to be left with you are going to be left with an instruction manual, but you're not just going to be left with an instruction manual to figure it out on your own. We have the right tools, the right equipment, the right guys that have been trained. We're not sending your run-of-the-mill delivery guy to your home. These guys are specialty safe movers and installers. We protect your door jambs. We protect your thresholds. We could go on and on about what our professional delivery and installation includes. It's truly what sets us apart.
Yeah. I don't like using the term white glove just because what the industry calls white glove, like they don't do any of that stuff we do. We've actually purchased some safes.
Yeah.
Seen the delivery process and how it goes. They're not protecting the flooring like we are, the doorways. And then once they're plopping it in the place, they don't level it out. They don't know anything about the safe. Little things. Well, this is actually a pretty big thing. You show up with a larger safe, a lot of, 35 plus, anything bigger than that, cubic feet are going to be deep enough. They're not going to go through a standard, interior door.
No.
So our guys have to take off handles, take off locks to get them through there and set them back up. Most places aren't going to have that capability.
No. And then, for customers or potential customers, how do we price out our deliver and installation is based on size of the safe, the weight of the safe, right? And then the difficulty of the application, right? And then in some cases, mileage. We service the entire Northwest region of the United States. But yeah, if you're hundreds of miles away from us, it's going to cost a little bit more than if you're within 50. Yeah. Those are the main variables. So, if you're buying a safe that is, under 700 pounds for the most part, you're going to be, dealing with our base price, right? Which is either into the garage or ground floor. here in the Northwest, we deal with slopes around homes and staircases a lot, change in elevation. So as the difficulty increases, so too the price will. So yeah, we look at it as a whole and make sure that we understand how long it's going to take. How many guys do we have to send, right? If we got to send a third guy or maybe 2 crews, it's going to cost a little bit more. So yeah, you're paying for the size and weight of the safe, the difficulty of the application, and then in some cases, mileage.
Yeah. And I mean, to put a price on it, depending on the weight of the safe, you're going to pay hundreds of dollars to thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Our most expensive delivery to this date was 2 safes that weighed 8,500 pounds apiece. Very difficult situation. Had to be really careful. You're in an expensive setting.
Yeah.
And that was a $20,000+ move.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We're not dealing with, your typical appliance or other home furnishings, right? We're dealing with heavy stuff. And again, it's a specialty product and a specialty service. And we value our delivery and installation and our guys, even more so than the safe, right? That is truly the thing that makes us unique. In the, over decade that I've been selling safes, I have never, ever had one customer in the thousands and thousands of safes I've sold. I've never had one customer come back and say, you know what? I think I paid too much for delivery. They may have thought it was expensive at first, but after it's done, they call usually and say, I would have paid that and more if I would have known what your guys are like.
I'm kind of smiling and laughing because I'm thinking about a comment that was left on a review. And it said, it was too expensive, but they were the only people I could find to do it.
Yeah, that says it all right there. Yeah, we do things that others won't even start to even consider.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Our delivery guys are the best. And it's fun going out on installs every now and again and really seeing what those guys do. And that's really the next podcast I can't wait to see and hopefully be a part of is really our delivery crew. I want to get a round table going with those guys and talk about what those guys go through on a daily basis. I know we've had Gary on a podcast already, him and Riley, but I think getting all the guys in here and talking about some of the stuff they run into will give people just a glimpse into what their day-to-day life is. I know that you lived that life for many years. I've got to see little glimpses of it, but yeah, delivery, installation, setup, man, going around the state, going around the country for some of us.
Yeah.
And installing safes, you just never know what you're going to see. So
roundtable, Christian, you're going to need to buy more mics.
I think we're up to 4 now. So, all righty. Well, that'll wrap up another episode of The Safe Space. And as always, if you guys have any specific questions or topics that you want us to talk about, like Mr. Super Duty, Ford Tough, don't hesitate to drop a comment and let us know what you guys want us to chat about. Thanks for listening. Appreciate it.
That's my awkward ending.
I love it. You got to leave that in there. That's my awkward ending.